I've been watching Zerka's weird like rip off of Raj or Austin show dating thing. And the types of conversations that people will have on there, honestly, like I don't really enjoy listening to like the one that was just it was Destiny, Zerka, Infrared, and that Sereda. That was like holy shit, like internet hall of famers all talking together, like Jesus, like it was so cool, like laying in my bed watching that. What part of the end of that I caught live was so cool, but like cuz it's like I'm just staring in awe at my screen. I'm like, holy shit, these are like internet giants. Like these people are, and they're all talking right now. Like it's so cool. Like you know what I mean? Like you watch people for so long, and then they like cooperate and like collaborate. It's like so fucking damn. Like it was very exciting to watch that. But the types of conversations that they have are kind of like honestly difficult for me to relate to because it's like they talk about everything in terms of like the parameters of like how men relate to women, you know what I mean? And like how women treat men. And like because of the fact that I'm a trans woman, it's like all of my relationships I've had have been kind of like cuz I've never actually officially dated a man. I've never officially dated a man ever. Um all of my official relationships I've had and the majority of all like overall like romantic or sexual relationships I've had have been with women. So it's like and cis women at that. So it's like I can't really relate to the whole like heterosexual vanilla monogamy kind of dating discourse because that's just not been my experience. You know, like I'm just not I don't fall into that category whatsoever in any of those three ways. So it's very like it's very like I don't know the word. Like basically some of the things that they say kind of make me uncomfortable like because it's just like dude, you're making such an oversimplification and like I don't even know what you mean when you say like men, for example, like you know what I mean? Like it just kind of I think the conversations, all those conversations always end up being way too overly simplistic for me personally. Cause like I've done like a little bit of academic work about gender theory and stuff. So I'm just in that space where it's like I've looked beyond common sense about that issue basically. And because I have that perspective, not to mention my personal life, but because I have that theoretical background, it's very kind of like frustrating to listen to these conversations a lot of the time. But it's also interesting because it makes me think like, because they talk about how like, I mean, Zerka kept mentioning, he kept trying to talk about how like, oh, women play games with men and it's like of course they do but like he was very insistent on that point that like like you know what I mean like just like tropes like that are just kind of like I feel like on a Twitch debate panel or a Twitch show you can't really you won't really get deep in-depth you know what I'm trying to say like introspective like very insightful commentary where you actually like figure out um what's really going on. Like I just feel like you almost just won't get that by virtue of the fact that these are Twitch streamers and it's like it's just kind of honestly, most of the debates I see, most of the debate panels I watch lately on Twitch, politics, and like on YouTube are just horrible. Just, even if it's just politics, like not even dating or relationships, but just politics. Like, oh my god, dude! Like, you honestly have to be like, where do they find these streamers? Like, you honestly have to be stupid. It seems to like some flavor of cringe to get on to even get your foot in the door with a lot of these debate panels. Like, and I've talked about this before on the show, like where the margin of debate is always kind of like too narrow, where you're just having a spat about what words, like you're just playing language games and contributing to the reduction of all discourse to just purely language games, and it's just kind of like cringe to me, you know, like. And how everything gets reduced to individual moral decisions. So you're just arguing about like, oh, who's allowed to say this word and in what context. And it just gets boring. And like, it's so embarrassing because you get on there, or somebody gets on there and they start talking about gender, right? Or there's a debate panel about gender and like transgender people and trans politics, and nobody can talk about the fact that like gender is, especially on a like, nobody, it bothers me how it seems like nobody seems to have a theory of how gender works that actually includes everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody seems to make it the goal of their thinking about the subject of gender to um I don't really like the term valid, but to validate trans people and queer people's identities, because they always have to somehow sink back into saying that it's somehow biologically determined, and I just think that that is such a pitfall. Like, here's the thing. We're diverging a little bit, but I'm going to get back to the Zerka dating thing in a second. But like, here's the thing. The thing about trans people is that we basically open up the space, or we should, I think, logically speaking, open up the space in discourse and in our thinking as a culture to think about gender in ways that are absolutely removed from the realm of the biological and the physical. You know what I mean? Like, that is in that, to me, that is the very interesting thing that our existence reveals and introduces into like the realms of theory and our thinking, how we think of ourselves as human subjects, you know what I mean? But for some reason, we're just stuck. We're stuck in this place discursively and culturally where we just for some reason the measurement for validity seems to be biology. And I think that entire thing is just a mistake, because it's like I just said, like the interesting thing that we reveal is that we should be thinking about gender in a way that isn't biological. Um, but for some reason, people find it very difficult to do that. And I think, like I just said, the reason why that is because we're accepting the framework of debate as reactionaries put it forward, um, which is to say that it's all biologically determinate. But the first thing that you learn when you learn anything about gender beyond sex is the fact that it's fucking social. And to me, what that has always meant is the fact that, like, it just isn't biological. It is purely cultural. So I don't know how people have forgotten or foregone that in the discourse, especially people who are on the left, quote unquote. But it's like, I think we're just doing it all wrong in that respect. Yeah. But back to the Zerka dating thing, I guess. Like, it's interesting how they talk about, like, it's interesting how they talk about cheating, because it's like, they seem to think that, like, it's a very strange line that they had to walk, it seems, or that they have to walk, because it's like, it seems like I don't even know which point I want to bring forward first right now. Because it seems like, number one, there is this kind of double standard that does exist where people seem to think that, like, it's okay for men to cheat, but it's not okay for women. Like, that seems that seems to be like a, and the way that they excuse that is they basically say that, like, a man can fuck another woman and it doesn't mean anything beyond just having an orgasm, basically. But if a woman fucked another man, it would, like, inherently mean something more than just getting off and then being able to, like, go back to your partner as if nothing changed. You know what I mean? And I just think that that's not true. Like, if 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 that can be true, like, if a cis man can fuck, he's dating a woman and then he fucks another woman and then it's literally just to get off and then he can just return to his relationship. I feel like that the same thing can be true of a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely a woman who's like that. You know what I mean? I don't believe that there are, like, because I've, like, especially when you spend a lot of time on the internet, you see a lot of crazy shit. So I don't really believe that there's any type of human being that doesn't exist. Like, there's every possible configuration that you could possibly think of exists. Like, so I don't like speaking in those terms of vast generalizations about things like that, because it's like, you're probably just saying something that isn't the truth, you know? And I think that's a weird double standard to have, because that's also definitely not true of all men. Like Zerko was saying, like, he just could never cheat because he tried one time and he literally, like, couldn't get hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not all, hashtag not all men, but, like, you get what I'm saying. Like, not all guys are capable of that, I don't think. You know what I mean? And there must be women who are. You know what I'm saying? But even that is a weird example, because basically what you're saying is that you're, like, using someone else to masturbate and then like like, it's kind of strange. Like, that's just a weird, like, why wouldn't you just have sex with the person you're dating at that point? You know? If it's just to nut, like, you know what I mean? It's just a weird example. But moving on from that, this is such a, God, last time we talked about, like, all this heavy political topics and, like, this time I'm literally just, like, rambling about, like, sex and shit. But, like, you get what I'm, yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. It's a more chillaxed episode where I be more human with you. And personal, I guess, is the word. Personal. But, like,